Thanks so much for being here. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Ted Kozak, and I'm a chief planner with Orange County Zoning Division. And my role is with one of the number of advisory boards in the county, and in particular in zoning, we have one, and it's called the Board of Zoning Adjustment. So that's my role in the advisory boards for the zoning division.
Thanks. And today we're going to talk about advisory boards, and you happen to staff one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what this board is and what it does? What's its main mission?
Mm-hmm. So, for a simplified version, it's a version of a board that is for variances, special exceptions, which are uses that requires extra review, and then appeals of the zoning manager. So there are three main functions, and this board is in front of the public, and the advisory board members are 7 people who are appointed by the commissioners and the mayor. So there are decisions made, and there are recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for final approval.
So you just said the members are appointed by the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor. What is the makeup of that board? How many appointments do each commissioner get, or the mayor?
Each commissioner gets one, and then the mayor has a at-large member, so that totals 7. And so those 7 people vote on certain matters, and that are important to, of course, to me, it's more important in the zoning division, because we're closer decisions to the residences and the public, so they have great interest on what we do, and this board in particular. So,
are there any requirements that they need, or background, education, experience in order to be on this board?
There's a wide range of people on this board, and the majority are attorneys or professionals in the field who have a lot of interest in development. But there's no certain requirement that you must be a certain profession. So you can be a school teacher through anything else. So it is a wide range of people that go within these advisory boards. So.
And when do they meet, and what's the time of day?
So the Zoning Board of Adjustment is the first Thursday, generally, of every month, and it starts at 9 a.m. It can go as long as 8 hours, but typically it lasts maybe 4 hours at the most, and ending around noon. So if anyone was ever interested in even just watching it, it always starts at 9 o'clock on the first Thursday of every month.
Okay, so it's one of those boards that has a little bit more dedication than some of our other boards, which may only be like a 1-hour meeting once a month in the morning or in the evening. This one's a little bit more
correct
involved.
So they have a lot of work. There's a lot of decision-making input with the public, as well as reading a very large book that we publish every month. So it is involved, but then again, like you said, the professions involved, it's typically people who enjoy development, but that could mean anyone.
What responsibilities do these members have? They have public comments. They seem to be a very, I'd say, formal board compared to other boards.
If you compared them to some other boards, yes. Different commissioners take part and take realm of each case that is in their district. So, for example, if there's a case in District 5, then the District 5 representative will coordinate the hearing. So that hearing will include the staff presentation, the application will present, and then public comment. So all of that is coordinated for each case by the commissioner of that certain district. So it's pretty important for the involvement for that commissioner.
Lots of responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is important because it's affecting a lot of people.
Let's touch a little bit on that. Why is it important that we have these boards, particularly this one, and what impact can it have on our county?
And like any board, the importance is it could affect a lot of people. Now, some of the requests can be a variance for a setback, which may mean just, nothing more impact than maybe a certain half block radius. But if it's a conditional use, which is another word for a use type of a approval, that could affect a giant portion of the county. So it is important, and we encourage public involvement and engagement. So the hearing process will draw out and hear all comments, and then that'll be the recommendations. Part of the input is taken, and then each decision is made based on that, and the staff report, of course.
Tell us a little bit more about the staff report, and as staff, how do you support this board?
So the staff report is a lot of work. It's a very detailed written document. It includes the plans itself. It includes, so for example, if it's for let's say a church, then the plans and elevations, the landscaping, where the parking is going, but then the explanation on how the decision for staff is made. So the part that I didn't talk about is part of every request, staff has a recommendation of approval or denial, and then the commissioner for that district will take that into effect and make their decision based on that. So it's the staff book, and it becomes very thick, is going to lead and guide to the decision to be made, and then it is also something that is available for the public to read online. So everything is transparent, and that's why we encourage all kind of public engagement.
So we have this large staff book, but other advisory boards, they don't all have this type of book.
Not to this extent. So I can vouch for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The book is probably one of the larger ones out there. And it's because we have to make a decision based on rational thought, and that thought is sometimes 20, 30 pages for each case. So, it might not be the most exciting thing to read, but it certainly is for the person who's affected. So
what advice would you give someone who is thinking about signing up for an advisory board in a position like this one?
Well, it's, I'm sure, a great way to become more involved than you would ever think. So with all the work involved, there's probably a great deal of pride on being able to help people through the process, either a variance for, let's say, a house, or a conditional use for something that requires further detail. So the person, my recommendation is you might really enjoy and find it a very fulfilling, and as maybe a gateway point to a lot of people to other boards. This one, I would say, is one of the more a complex ones. So jumping into this one, it's sort of like what people say: if you can make it in New York, you can make it everywhere. So maybe if you can make it on this advisory board, you have a good footing.
This activity is going to be called the Advisory Board Challenge, and I'm going to ask you, what was your greatest challenge with this board?
Well, we have typically a lot of complicated projects. One in particular that you would probably recognize would be the Speed World out the east part of the county. And the reason why it is so challenging, it's when we have to spend so much time researching, because in the quote unquote old days, they didn't keep a lot of records. So I had spent a lot of time doing research on how this raceway developed over time. So the project at hand had a lot of hot button topics on noise and traffic. So typically the most complicated projects we have in the Board of Zoning Adjustment involved uses like this that have now had surrounding development all around it. So it used to be in the middle of nowhere. Now it isn't. The reason why it was so complicated is because of research plus, hot button topics. So it did take a while, and the ultimate result wasn't finalized because the applicant really didn't want to move forward. So that one was pretty challenging. So
yeah. Do you have any others that maybe neighbors
fighting
with each other
every month? But
every month? Oh.
typically any type of use that is going to bring more cars into a certain area, like an assembly use of any type, and you either can call a religious institution or a community center, just anything that's going to potentially bring in more traffic or potentially noise. And that is the whole reason that we really ask for public input, is because these will affect you in a lot of ways, and sometimes for a very, very long time.
What do you feel is the biggest challenge for the residents when it comes to some of these cases?
The adjacent residents is probably there. A lot of people don't know how to provide comments or get involved. So that's, to me, if I was someone who isn't involved all the time, it would be frustrating or confusing. So the biggest challenge is, how do you become involved and have a voice as an adjacent neighbor? And the simplest thing that you can do is show up at the public meeting. Sometimes there's a community meeting beforehand, but if a mailer comes in your mailbox, don't throw it away. So a lot of people think it's junk mail and they just throw it away. So please don't ignore these things.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Knowing how your government works, knowing how the land use works, and paying attention to your mail and the educational materials you get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the biggest challenge, is just not knowing.
Well, it is. And a lot of people, it's the fear of the unknown, and so us trying to get their fear of the unknown out of the way. If you don't become involved, then you won't know what is going on around you, and then you'll be shocked one day. So it's just the way it is today. Please use all your social media, not just for fun, but also we encourage you for finding out what's going on at the county, including this Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Which is why we are having this episode on advisory boards, to make sure people get involved, because we really need them involved in Orange County government. And how can people learn more about this board and others at Orange County, knowing when the meetings are coming?
The easiest way, if I want to find out anything not in Orange County, is do a search. Put the words Orange County Board of Zoning Adjustment, or just the letters BZA. That'll come up. But once you are more familiar with the website, then just go to the Orange County website, and then there's a little portion that is just dedicated to Board of Zoning Adjustment. All the dates are on that page for the upcoming year, as well as you can click on the left side and you'll be able to read this really big book for the upcoming month, the last month. And then we have something called Fast Track, which a lot of people think is just for permits. Well, we also can use it to search for anything that someone has submitted for an application. So you just enter the project number, which we give everything a project number, punch that in, push enter. You can open up all the application documents, plans. You don't have to just go in and read the staff report. You can do that anytime before it goes to hearing.
Well, thank you so much for being
Okay,
here. I
thanks.
really appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.